regards to this sentencing, would you say that this is broken? Mr. Daw, good morning.
Yes, I would, but not for the reasons the Attorney General suggests. These are incredibly long sentences for manslaughter, amongst the longest sentences for manslaughter that I've ever heard. We have over the last 20 years, we've seen an almost doubling of our prison population. Sentences have gone up and up and up for every category of crime, particularly violent crime. So there is some troublesome thinking around this case, but I'm afraid the Attorney General is acting politically, and she's really not doing justice to her office as the Attorney General, which is supposed to be independent of politics. And I have huge sympathy, obviously, for the family of PC Harper and for his widow, but we don't have sentencing by the victims and their families in this country. We have sentencing by due process of law. And I think the Attorney General has got this terribly wrong.
But why shouldn't the killing of an emergency service worker in his or her uniform carry a stiffer sentence?
Well, because this was a manslaughter case, so the
yes,
jury.
I said killing. I didn't say murder.
Yes, well, you could kill someone by accident. Are you suggesting that it was an accident that they should be sent to prison for life?
No, but the court has obviously found that it was manslaughter. Of course, we've
correct.
Said that. Yeah.
So no intention to kill, no intention to cause serious bodily harm. This was incidental to the commission of another crime. The jury decided that the defendants had no intention whatsoever to cause serious harm to PC Harper. That was the jury's verdict, and the sentence of 16 years, but without an intention to cause harm, is a very, very heavy sentence indeed. We already have far too many heavy prison sentences. The thing is, they don't work. The idea, if you gave life means life to everyone that killed an emergency service worker, there would be no difference to the number of emergency service workers killed. It doesn't bring people back. And this clamour for long sentences every time there's a tragic case of this kind is why we're in the problem we're in. Why the prisons are overcrowded and full. Why rates of crime are going up and up. Because prison doesn't work.
Whatever happened on that night in Berkshire, why is that a result of our prisons being full?
Because our criminal justice policy in this country for decades has relied on ever-increasing prison sentences and ignored the need to deal with young people when they enter the criminal justice system, often as children, and divert them away from crime. Had these young people, I have no doubt, who'd been in and out of trouble with the police in their younger life, had they been dealt with in a different way, rather than the way we deal with young people now, there is a very good chance that the level of crime, not necessarily this individual case, but the level of overall violent crime will be lower, and fewer victims of crime would be around in our society.
And when we say dealt with in a different way, what sort of, in practical terms, what are we speaking of?
Well, at the moment, we criminalise children from the age of 10 and we put them into criminal courts and we treat them as criminals. In other countries, they don't criminalise people until they're 18 years of age. We need to stop criminalising children. We need to divert them from the criminal process, get them into education programmes when they find themselves on the streets and in trouble. At the moment, we just punish them. And when we punish them as criminals, unsurprisingly, they behave like criminals as they get older and for the rest of their lives often. So the way that we treat young people when they enter the criminal justice system is as much part of the problem as anything else.
And where can we point to elsewhere where this might have worked? This, if I may describe it, a slightly gentler approach. Where has that worked?
It's not gentle. That's the point. My argument is we have the highest rate of violent crime in Europe. We have the highest prison population in Europe. We have the longest sentences in Europe. We have the harshest regimes for young offenders in Europe. Is that what people want? They want it more harsh. They want more of the same. But the answer is, in Luxembourg, the age of criminal responsibility is 18, the same age at which you're entitled to vote.
What's the population of Luxembourg? It's probably in its hundreds of thousands, isn't it? It's not exactly a country of 65 million people.
But it makes no difference. It's the principle. Do we really think that someone is too young to vote, but they're old enough at the age of 10 to be treated as a murderer?
Do we really think that someone who dragged a police officer to his death, is it right that he'll be out age 27 when before that police officer, of course, had a right?
I'm not sure it is right. I'm not sure that he should be in prison that long, because what's the point of it? What the focus of the sentence should not be on locking someone up for as long as possible. It should be to stop them committing crime in the future. He will come out, in all probability, after 8 years
or so, the widow?
More criminal than when he went in.
What about, lastly, justice for the widow who's seeking this law in the name of her late husband?
We don't have private justice. We don't have private criminal justice. If victims decided the sentence in every single case, I'm sure many cases would result in catastrophically over-sentenced defendants serving decades or a lifetime in prison because of the personal and understandable grief of the victims. We don't sentence in that way. We sentence according to law, and judges have to apply the law objectively and properly. And in my view, looking at the guideline, the judge got it about right, or if anything, it was slightly too high.